What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, there were some interesting quotes that came out from Alex Caruso today, ladies and gentlemen, discussing about the partnership on the defensive end between him and Lonzo Ball, and also to kind of give a little bit of an insight as to why he feels the Chicago Bulls defense did get a little bit worse last season compared to when both of those guys were healthy. Now, all things considered, we'll look at the quotes that Alex Caruso had to say. We'll discuss them in detail. And I also want to compare what other teams would look like if they miss two of their best defensive players in terms of their teams, and see how far they could have gotten, to maybe give even further of an insight to what the Chicago Bulls dealt with last season, and if we see a fully healthy team, what we could potentially see heading into next season as well. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bull Show. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and the likelihood of us seeing these two play together again next season. When do you think it will happen, and how good will our defense be if it does happen? Because that's one of the most important things to discuss. So basically, the quote that I saw in relation to what Alex Caruso had to say about the Lonzo Ball situation, when asked about Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso said he's gotten better every year. Me and him are like a top 5 to 10 guards in the league on ball defense. And he basically said that the injuries are the reason why the Chicago Bulls fell off in terms of the defensive end, and obviously struggled in the NBA playoffs as well. So there's a huge statement there from Alex Caruso to give a further understanding of what really went down for the Chicago Bulls during that time, during that really rough stretch in February, March, and of course April and the playoffs. So we'll get started on all of that. So in order for me to further discuss things, we obviously will have to talk towards the end of the season as well. Now, just because we lost Lonzo Ball, in my opinion, what's going to make us have a big progress in terms of next season, even without Lonzo Ball, this Bulls team needs to figure out how to be able to win without Lonzo Ball. And we need to figure out how we can settle in as a team without Lonzo Ball. Because there's no question Lonzo Ball makes everything easier. I've said that countless times before. But unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of making Lonzo Ball, I guess, make things easier every single time he's on the floor, because he's just not on the floor a lot for this team at the moment. So until he's coming back, which we all hope will be very, very soon, we need to learn how to win without Lonzo Ball. And that's going to be a big step for the Chicago Bulls. That's why I think we drafted a guy that could play a little bit more defense to improve our defensive end. And obviously when Lonzo Ball comes back, our defense will be even better. But I absolutely love this quote from Alex Caruso, basically saying with him and Lonzo on the court together, even with them apart, they're a top 5 to top 10 guard in relation to on-ball defense. Absolutely incredible quote. And it kind of puts you in that situation with, what if these guys did not get injured last year for as long as they did? Because Alex Caruso missed a lot of time for the Bulls. I know he came back in the most important time, the NBA playoffs, and Lonzo Ball didn't have that luxury, but they were both out for close to half the season. A long time for each of these guys respectively. So what happens if both of these guys not only stay together and play healthy together, but what if they just didn't get injured in general? Big question there, because I honestly say we're missing two of our best defenders, and there's no question about it. Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball are our best defensive players in this team. There's no question about it. What happens if we're able to keep those two together? And in my opinion, I don't think the downfall that we have is going to be anywhere near as bad as it was. Now, I'm not saying there won't be a downfall at all, because unfortunately, I do think this team became too predictable, even offensively, just for us to say there's no downfall. I think the Bulls don't necessarily finish first in the Eastern Conference with Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso there the whole season. But I can almost feel like we would be within that top 4 situation last year. We would be battling for top 4. We'd probably get home court advantage in the NBA playoffs, just because our defense won't go from the 29th worst defense in the NBA at one point. It would most likely stay consistently within the top 10 to 15 in the league. That's honestly what I feel like. That's my personal opinion. And to take a deeper dive into that, we can look at other teams and see how they would fare. What you guys think that would happen to those other teams if they lost their best defensive players, because that's exactly what happened to the Chicago Bulls. So look, let's look at every other NBA team. For example, let's look at the Boston Celtics, who were in the NBA Finals last year. What do you think happens to the Boston Celtics in the regular season if they lose both Marcus Smart and Robert Williams? Do you really think that they would be the defensive machine that they were towards the end of the season and in the NBA playoffs especially as well? Now, of course, Robert Williams was out for them. That's one guy. But Marcus Smart, I don't believe, was out for long periods of time for the Boston Celtics. And they had a very good system in place defensively that even with our guys here, we don't always necessarily have, because we did play a lot of small ball. So you got to look at that as well. Same as the Golden State Warriors. What happens if they lose the likes of Draymond Green defensively, leadership-wise, and you lose guys like a Gary Payton, or you lose guys like a Klay Thompson, or anything like that? Do the Golden State Warriors stay the same? Same with things like Utah. What happens if Utah loses Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley? Are they going to be the same team defensively? The list goes on. I can literally list every single team possible. Miami Heat. What if they lose Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler, or Jimmy Butler and Bam? Of course, these guys add more offensively without a shadow of a doubt. And maybe, again, with the Bulls, you know, you're losing a lot of defense, but I don't think Alex Caruso is the best offensive player there is out there. He's a great playmaker. He makes things happen sometimes. But of course, when you're comparing Jimmy Butler to Bam, you're comparing Lonzo to Caruso, they have better offense on that side. But defensively, if you're looking at the defensive side, that's basically what we lost. We lost two of our best defenders, and you've got to compare that to the rest of the league. If people are saying that our downfall, or we're going to be a team that's not making the playoffs, for example, which I've seen around the Chicago Bulls for a long time now, this team's not going to make the NBA playoffs. This team's going to fight for a play-in spot. This team will barely avoid the play-in spot. Look, everybody has the right to agree or disagree or to have their own opinion. That's fine. But if you're looking at the grand scheme of things, what would happen to the rest of the league if they lost their best two defenders? The number 1 and 2 guy that they can count on to get a stop on the defensive end. What would happen? Because the truth of the matter is, I don't think there are many teams out there that would be able to handle losing two of their best defensive players and just get up and go win a championship. The Golden State Warriors that won that championship, they didn't lose two of their best defenders. They lost Gary Payton, who, to be fair, was probably one of the best defenders, but they had Draymond Green. They really only lost one key defender there. The Boston Celtics lost Robert Williams for a long time. They lost him in the playoffs as well, I believe. But they had Marcus Smart. They had the Defensive Player of the Year there. The Phoenix Suns with Mikal Bridges. What happens if they lose Mikal Bridges and DeAndre Ayton, for example? Are they a team that's going to finish first in the Western Conference? No, I don't believe so. What happens during that 2020 year if the Milwaukee Bucks lose Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday? Do they win the championship? I don't think so. That's two of their best defenders gone. So the fact of the matter is, it's hard to really, I guess, it's hard to cope when you lose your two best defenders. That's what I'm trying to say. And the Bulls lost that. And they lost that for a long period of time. So the fact that our defense fell so far down the way that it did, honestly, it's not surprising whatsoever, because you lose your leadership, you lose your on-ball defenders, and of course you lose, I guess, that edge on the defensive end that these guys bring. And these guys, when they bring that intensity, they bring that tenacity on the defensive end, it reflects in everybody else. It makes guys like Zach LaVine want to play defense. It makes guys like DeMar DeRozan want to play defense, even though they're not naturally skilled defensively. Same with Nikola Vucevic as well. You lose so much when you lose your best defenders. So again, I believe the Chicago Bulls will make the top 4 or be around the 4th or 5th seed in the Eastern Conference. I know people that are saying we're going to get higher than that. I know people that are saying we're going to be much lower than that. And each to their own. I'm not going to sit here and say you're wrong and explain the reasons why you're wrong, because you're not wrong. No one's wrong right now. Time will tell. We'll be wrong or right in 6-7 months' time. But the truth of the matter is, one of the key reasons why I think the Chicago Bulls will be a little bit better is because you expect Lonzo Ball to come back, who is probably your number 1 defensive guy. But you've got your other defensive guy ready, and he's had a full off season. He's rested up. He's recovered from all of his nagging injuries, and he's ready to go and attack the season. And he's preparing himself for a longer season as well. So you've got one defensive guy back. But when you get the other one back, who hopefully will return sooner than later, then again, you've got your defensive juggernauts back. You've got a team that has its 2 best defenders on the floor. And that is going to be very important for the Chicago Bulls. And even though our offense may still be predictable. Maybe it's not where we want it to be. Defensively, we should still be very consistent on that end. And that's part that I'm looking forward to. But all things considered, we may never truly know. Maybe Lonzo Ball does not come back when we expect him to come back. But thank you for watching nonetheless. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Give me more teams. See what happens for, again, maybe teams like a Philly or teams like a Lakers, teams like a Clippers, which the Clippers, to be fair, was been through all of that. So a bunch of teams have probably been through that before. I'm not saying we're exclusively the only team that loses defenders. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what would happen when those teams lose defenders? What did happen when these teams lose defenders, especially their best ones? Because I can guarantee you their defense is not the same. And not only that, I think they lose a lot of edge in terms of their competitiveness on the floor. So defense wins championship, ladies and gentlemen. Defense is everything. When you lose your two best defenders, the drop-off was probably expected. Maybe not be as bad as it was, but we dropped off. And I'm hoping that's something we're not going to be seeing this season as well. So have a wonderful and safe day, Bulls Nation. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.